Today's story is on Erica Yvonne Sheppard, who was sentenced to death in 1995 for killing a mother of two. Erica Yvonne Sheppard was born on September 1st, 1973 in Bay City, Texas. There's no documentation that says she got into any trouble as a child and had never gone to juvie or jail before the age of 18. By age 19, Erica was a single mother of 3 children, with her youngest being just 10 months old. She was able to escape the negative environment with her children's father, but she was left without a place to live and no job. She ended up reaching out to her older brother Jonathan, and he agreed to let Erica and her children live with him and his 19-year-old roommate James Dickerson. After Erica moved in, she and James hit it off and soon started a relationship. Erica fell in love with his blue eyes, and him not having a job like her gave them both ample time to do nothing but come up with, in their mind, the perfect crime. It was late at night on June 29, 1993. Erica, James, and their friend Corey Jordan were hanging out in their apartment. Randomly, James expressed how he was in desperate need of money and would do anything to get it, even if that meant robbing people and/or stealing cars. The very next day, Erica and James noticed their 43-year-old neighbor, Marilyn Sage Mager, bringing packages from her car to her apartment. They noticed that not only was her car trunk open, but her front door was open as well. Erica and James then made a plan and decided to rob Marilyn. Erica left her place equipped with a kitchen knife and walked over to Megan's place. She entered the house first, and James followed. Marilyn got scared when they entered and repeated twice, "Who's there?" Erica and James then began assaulting her. Marilyn started screaming, and James threatened her if she did not stay quiet. While being assaulted, Marilyn started screaming, and James threatened her if she did not stay quiet. Marilyn then began pleading with the duo when Erica asked for the car keys to her vehicle. Initially, Marilyn did not take the young couple serious because she replied by saying, "My keys? You're crazy." When she noticed their weapon, she let them know that she had 2 children. She also said, "I will give you anything, don't hurt me. I have a little money, take my money." She was able to reach into her pocket to throw out some money, but Erica and James grew more angry because Marilyn would not stop yelling. James attempted to kill her, but the weapon they brought from their apartment was not sharp enough, so they went into Marilyn's kitchen to find the perfect weapon. When Erica passed the weapon to James, she left to Marilyn's bedroom and was able to find more money along with her car keys. When she returned to the living room, she noticed that James had already attempted to kill Marilyn. There was a struggle, and both Erica and James took part in killing Marilyn. The duo attempted to clean up after themselves, but Erica ended up leaving a bloody fingerprint at the crime scene. Erica and James left, and Marilyn's daughter discovered her body shortly after. After police began their investigation, a friend of Erica and James notified the police about the couple, and they were brought in for questioning. Erica confessed, and although she initially said that she was there for the robbery but did not witness the murder, she eventually confessed to taking part in the kill. Their friend Corey Jordan also gave investigators a statement and told them the night before the murder, he overheard the couple discussing robbing someone and being okay with killing to get what they needed. When Erica's trial began, she felt as if her court-appointed lawyers were not helpful. She and James were convicted of murder and robbery. Her team did not allow her to testify, and there were 11 witnesses called to the stand, including some of her own friends. Her friend Corey let the court know that James and Erica had tried to rob someone the day before the murder, but stopped the robbery when the female victim was able to escape and made it inside of her apartment. While awaiting her sentence, Erica was being held at the Harris County Jail, and 2 prison inmates who knew Erica said that when the story of Marilyn came on the news, Erica started to brag about the murder. When it came to sentencing, in the state of Texas, the law states that in terms of receiving the death sentence, the jury must answer yes to 3 questions. Did the defendant act deliberately? Was the defendant's conduct unreasonable in response to any provocation offered by the deceased? And was there a probability that the defendant would commit future acts of violence that would pose a continuing threat to society? The jury answered yes to all 3 questions, so Erica was not offered life in prison, but instead death. Her official sentence came on April 25, 1995, and she was sent to the Mountain View Unit in Gatesville, Texas. There were automatic appeals that were denied by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and initially Erica wanted to fight for her life, but temporarily gave up in 1997. She had a new attorney by the name of James Keegan who told her that she had no case and there was little hope that a court would overturn her conviction. With that being said to her, she gave up her fight, and on November 7, 1997, she wrote a letter to the appellate court. A portion of the letter read, "I ask that my appeal immediately be stopped and my execution date be carried out as promptly as possible." The court did not argue with her wish to die, and they scheduled her execution date the following year on April 20, 1998. At one point, Erica was one of 7 women on death row at the Mountain View unit, and one of her fellow inmates was someone I have done a story on, Carla Faye Tucker. Erica saw how Carla found God and pled with the governor at the time, George Bush, but was ultimately executed. Erica said that Carla prayed for her and her family and to make peace with herself. According to Erica, she found God and peace, so she was fine with her execution date. Not okay with Erica's decision to die was the Amnesty International and Erica's mother, Madeline McNeil. She asked Erica to change her mind, and Erica said she wouldn't unless she received a sign. Madeline wrote a letter to Reverend Jesse Jackson, pleading to him for his help in assisting Erica and her appeals. It was nearing her execution date in April of 1998, and she finally got a visit from Reverend Jesse Jackson. It was April 8, 1998, and Erica believed that meeting him was her miracle, so she reached out to the Amnesty International for help in getting new representation. As of now, Erica is in isolation by choice and living in the segregated unit. She has not received any disciplinary strikes, but is in that unit for choosing not to work. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch another episode of Death Row Executions for this Sentence to Death segment. And now I'm going to read a letter from Yvonne Sheppard to the Texas Death Row, and it was written on May 1st, 1999. My name is Yvonne Sheppard, and I'm a female on death row in the state of Texas. I have been on death row for 4 years, and in the years that I have been here, never have I experienced such inhumane treatment. Please allow me the opportunity to inform you of what's happening to us behind prison walls. On October 21st, 1983, a court-ordered death row plan was passed for death row inmates Civil Action Number H78987 by Honorable William Wayne, Justice in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Texas Houston Division. In this plan, there are 2 classifications of death row inmates: work capable and death row segregation. I am a death row segregated inmate, not because of anything I have done wrong, but because as a death row inmate, it is by law my choice to participate in the work program or not. However, behind these prison walls, if you don't work, you are punished and treated differently. Allow me to give you some examples, if you will. Number 1. Every list of reason for a death row segregated inmate is either violent or negative. A. Escape or attempted escape. B. Assaultive behavior. C. Possession of a deadly weapon. Not one time does it say that it's our choice to work or not to work. It is a privilege to participate in the work program. It is not mandatory for us to work because we do not get any credit or good time for working, nor do we get paid to work. Number 2. For recreation, we are allowed 1 hour out of our cells 7 days a week, whereas by court law it says that we shall be allowed to recreate outside of our cells for not less than 3 hours a day. Where are our other 2 hours of recreation time? Number 3. We are housed in a building titled the Multipurpose Facility that also houses psyche patients and disciplinary segregated inmates. We are often confused with the disciplinary segregated inmates, and we are often confused with the disciplinary segregated inmates because we are to be labeled segregated inmates. But the difference between the two is, we are segregated because we have a death sentence by law. They are segregated because of acting bad and not following the rules, but oftentimes when people tour this facility, they are not informed of this status. Why? Because they want to make it appear that we are here because we have disciplinary problems, and that is just not true. This multipurpose facility is not set up to house death row inmates. We are supposed to have a day room equipped with at least 4 tables and 16 stools, a chinning bar, and an assortment of table games such as checkers, dominoes, and chess. We are also supposed to have a water fountain for drinking water, yet we have no such things. Why? There are 4 other women housed in this multipurpose facility with me who are also death row level 1 inmates, yet we are kept separated from each other with no human contact, yet in the court-ordered plan it says we can recreate together, so why do they keep us separated from each other? The women who do work are allowed to recreate together, and they have a drinking fountain, games to play, and access to other things in their day room. Why the discrepancy there? Number 4. In the court-ordered death row plan, it states that death row segregated inmates shall be permitted to view the television for 15 hours a day, yet we are not allowed or given the opportunity to do this. We are being denied our proper TV time as ordered by the courts. Recently, the Mountain View unit under Warden Pamela Baggett has come out with the numerous changes as punishment for us as death row inmates. We are, number 1, handcuffed to walk around the hall to another room that would only take 2 steps to get from our cells, which before it was not like that. We were not to be handcuffed inside of the building at all. We are also repeatedly strip searched when we leave our cells to go to the recreation or to the showers, or appointments or visits when we are returned to our cells, even though we have never left the presence of the officers. Number 4. Our cells are searched repeatedly every day, every shift, even when we don't leave our cells. We are confined to our cells 23, sometimes 24 hours a day. In the process of these cell searches for contraband, as the administration calls it, our possessions are destroyed and mishandled inappropriately when there is no need for these actions. Yet the men on death row do not have to go through these procedures as women do. We are confined to cells that are not properly ventilated. We continue to tell the appropriate people about it, yet no one seems to care or want to correct this inhumane treatment. There are 600 plus men on death row in the state of Texas, and these men are not treated as we are. They are allowed 2 to 3 hours a day of recreation time out of their cells. They are allowed to view the TV, the appropriate 15 hours a day as the court order states, yet we as death row women are not. Why? I ask you to please write letters to Rita Radositz, Attorney at Law, Judge William Wayne Justice, Donna Brorby, TD-CJ, ACLU, Dr. Pierre Duterte, Gary Johnson, and Warden Pamela Baggett. Inform them and express your opinions about what's happening to us behind these prison walls, please. If no one speaks up on our behalf, this inhumane treatment will continue to go on. I thank you for your time and your efforts to help. God be with you all. Sincerely, Miss Erica Sheppard, number 999144, Mountain View Unit, Death Row.